Okay. All right. Hello, we are officially live on YouTube. I've gathered together a panel of wonderful people. Good afternoon. My name is Susanne Wilson, also known as a Carefree medium, because I live and work in Carefree, Arizona. But I also happen to believe that once you're aware of the greater reality that there is no physical death, only the body will ever die, that your soul is forever, that you can live a more carefree life as well. Now, we've all been going through some really rough times right now with the pandemic. And the other day when I was meditating, having my coffee, all of a sudden, I saw this. I saw this panel. I saw the people that I wanted to gather together to talk with you. And I asked them, and they all said yes. So I've assembled a group of people from different walks of life, but we all have a one thing in common. And that is this, that we're all aware that we're spiritual beings having a physical experience. And right now, quite frankly, guys, this physical experience sucks for a lot of people. I'm just gonna say it, right? So in a little bit, just to get us all in harmony, I'm going to lead us through a very brief exercise of sitting in the power, and then we're going to have some real talk from real people about how they're staying centered and grounded during difficult times, and address the question, are there any gifts for humanity that can come from this rough period in history? So I've gathered a lot of questions from a lot of you, my newsletter subscribers and followers. This recording will be available. We're going to get it far and wide. We have prayed together that we give you the most helpful, hopeful, and healing insights. And let me introduce you to these very fine thought leaders before I take you into some sitting in the power and the presence of the spirit. So first, I'm going to introduce Tina Powers. Tina, you heard Tina laugh, but I didn't hear the trademark snort. Tina Powers, how are you today?
I'm doing well, Suzanne. Thank you so much for inviting all of us to come together. I think it's so needed at this time, and more groups are coming together to help bring healing or comfort or peace on many levels. So grateful to be a part of this.
Well, Tina, you and I have worked together. We've been teaching partners together. I know that you're an excellent evidential medium, a spiritual teacher, but you also had a past history of being a news anchor for a CBS affiliate in Arizona. So what have you been thinking about the news coverage of the pandemic?
You know, it's so interesting because a lot of news, as we all know, over the years, and when I first started, news used to just be something new that you were learning and real journalism. And then it turned into tabloid infotainment. And then from there, it turned into a lot of negativity. So I think that at a time where there's a pandemic and there's also things happening, this is the time to tune in, but not 24/7. There are things that we need to know, but if you stay continuously looped in the news and the fear and the death, doom and destruction channel, because that's what it can be, because it isn't, we need to know about things and we need to be educated. But as far as the energy level, what we're bringing in and watching, we need to have a limit on it, I think. That would be my suggestion for everybody after working in it.
Yeah, limit your news diet. You have to know what's going on. You want to be a citizen of the world and you need the information, but you don't need to be immersed in it 24/7, right? Because I'm getting email from people that are having nightmares, they're not sleeping. They're calling them really weird dreams and things like that. And I'm like, are you watching the news right before bed? It's like, yeah.
Yes, so I think we have to look at what we can control within ourselves, our situation, and the energy that we're sending out into the world instead of it controlling us.
Because we can build it up even worse, right?
Oh, sure. You know, fear.
Well, thank you for being on the panel. We're going to look forward to hearing a lot more from you. I want to also now introduce you to Rabbi Shai Specht-Sandler. Rabbi Shai, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much. It's an honor.
Well, I'm grateful to have you here and get your perspective. The other day I was telling somebody that, I grew up in a religious household, and I'm more spiritual than religious. I'm like, believe it or not, I know a rabbi that makes me feel even more spiritual than religious. And my granddad was a minister. People are turning to religion now, and some people have been turned away for a very long time. What do you think it is that people are afraid of most and are looking for most in the way of comfort from their own spirituality right now, Rabbi Shai Specht-Sandler?
I think that's a very good question. And I think before this, we've been seeing a rise in people really interested in spirituality. And I think we've been conditioned to hear the word religion and feel that it's somehow fanatic, or somehow that if you're religious, that means that you're a fanatic person who is some extreme or another. Where in reality, the word religion itself it does have the word spirituality in it, not in it physically, but it's part of it. Religion just implies that you follow certain rituals, perhaps, and you can have a sort of, so for example, in the Jewish religion, when we wake up in the morning, we say, thank you, God. Thank you, God, for waking me up, for bringing me back to this world. I've been sleeping, perhaps in different worlds, and now I'm back here, and I'm thanking you so much. And as we go through our day, we also have certain blessings for food, or to say thank you for all kinds of events, or thank you for allowing us to get to this time. And so I think a lot of religions, I know a lot of religions have that. And so when we say people are really looking for that, especially now, I think people want some kind of routine. And it's nice to be able to have it through some kind of a spirituality, to feel that maybe we're not alone. Maybe there's something bigger than us. And I say something because I don't see it as someone, as a person sitting there with, maybe a man with a beard, or however people describe it, but just a being, a place of comfort. And the truth is, you don't even have to believe that it's a spirit. You can actually say that it's something within yourself. And you still do these rituals because we do have a bigger purpose, whether you believe that it is a creator, or whatever name you want to put to it, or whether you just think it comes from within, but collectively as a whole, we do have a connection. And so to me, that's what religion is. When we say religion, it's the rituals, it's the spirituality, and it's just being a little bit more aware of what we do and how we do it.
Awareness of what we do and how we do it. And that leads me to the thought of gratitude and kindness. I have personally dubbed Craig McMahon a kindness researcher because of the fact that he's a filmmaker, producer, and media personality. So let me introduce you to Craig McMahon now. Welcome to the program, Craig.
Hello, guys.
Well, it's great to have you on here because of that perspective of looking into kindness and how that raises the vibration of everyone in the world. And we've seen some things that are not kind going on right now, and a little bit silly, like hoarding of toilet paper and things like that. When you look at the research that you've done, the films that you've made that have been very uplifting, and more recently that the afterlife documentaries that you've been making that are on Amazon, what do you think is the most important thing that we can do to be kind to others right now, even though we can't physically connect with them? What kinds of recommendations would you have to spread a little love when we can't go see people?
I think that kindness is such a broad stroke. I'd like you guys to just think about this for a second. Take your rational mind out of it. Think back to the 1930s and 50s. We were facing World War II. And then after 1950s came around, we were all back to one. I feel it's very similar. We're being challenged with things like honor, respecting each other's. But let me back up a second. So how is it similar to the war and the 1950s? Because we all became one again. It's another course in a lot more virtues than, sorry, Suzanne, I'm going off here. It's a lot more than just.
I invited you so that we could take advantage of your intellect.
It's a lot more than just kindness. Okay. So just take your emotion out of it for a second, but it's a course on virtues. Okay. Think back when we had the Obama-Trump era. Okay. Now we have we've created a separation. We have opposites. We've split up. We're not one anymore. We've split up. Now that separation creates fear. And now we start to judge each other. Okay. So now it's the perfect ground for all the different types of virtues like honor, respecting each other. You know, you have empathy, sharing the feelings of one another, compassion. I mean, understanding another person that's suffering, toleration, allowing someone else to have another opinion, temperance, self-control, prudence, knowing right from wrong, gentleness. I mean, come on. We're very harsh with each other. We could be quiet in nature. Humanity and humility, caring for others, and not believing that we're better than each other. So we are separated, and we're able to. I believe that the earth is the great place to experience pain and joy, but we learn it through separation. Because in the afterworld, we really don't have that opposite to see each other. If you're a white being in a white room, how do you know what you are? So now that we're separated and we have these two opinions, now we can start working on all those different virtues. So it's all up to us as to how we use our free will to take on these challenges. So we've got a lot of things we could learn beyond kindness.
We have a lot that we can learn. We have a lot of hidden blessings here, which we're going to get to in a little bit. But you're basically telling us we now have a learning opportunity right in front of our faces to remind us that we're not separate from each other.
Right.
Because COVID-19 doesn't care about your socioeconomic class, does it?
It's really difficult, Suzanne, to take politics out of it, take emotion out of it, because we're in the thick of it. It's very difficult for us to see the forest for the trees in front of us. But if we can step back and look at it from another point in history, which is the 1950 era, when we were all having kids, we were building houses, we were doing great, we all loved each other, we were one. So what's going to bring us back to that oneness, guys? I don't know. I mean, is it this COVID thing? I mean,
I strongly suspect that it is. It's great to have you here. Thank you for being part of this group. That's fantastic input. Now I want to bring us to Margaret Free, who leads the Vibe Rise. I love that name. The Vibe Rise is a podcast. It's a community. Margaret, tell us a little bit about that.
I created the Vibe Rise. I went through a bit of a spiritual awakening because of Suzanne. I was living in Peru at the time, felt totally alone, had a conversation with Suzanne, and it just kind of like, it woke me up. And as I was going through my own awakening, I noticed that, you know, there just wasn't a community for me. And a lot of the thought leaders and spiritual thinkers didn't look like me. And so I started to feel like I needed to create a space for Black women of the diaspora, so from every country, who could potentially be in the same place that I'm at, like learning, growing, but don't know about the book and don't know about somebody like Suzanne and don't know about chakras. So just creating a safe space outside of, you know, your family group, your religion, that allows you to explore and learn more. So the Vibe Rise is that. It was a website, and then I decided to expand it to a podcast because people don't read websites anymore.
So you're supporting women of color specifically, or people of color who have been in a more dogmatic situation, and now they want to keep that sense of community and church, but they want to open up to the other side of life, understanding that they're spiritual being. And as you said, the more, I guess you call it, some people call it woo-woo stuff.
Just to give them a space so that they know that they're not crazy, you know, that this is not devil worship. A lot of times when you bring these things up to your family, they immediately think that you've gone nuts. So a lot of us are what I call closeted woo-woos, where we're not, you know, you just have a specific group of people that you talk to about it. And other than that, you don't bring it up. So I think that's okay, but you do need somewhere to go to ask questions, to say, hey, you know, I'm learning this, I saw a spirit, you know, things like that, so that you don't alienate yourself from the group where you get, you know, your love and your belonging.
Right. And you help them understand that it's not their job to change anybody or make anybody see their way, but just to feel supported, like you're not alone, you're not isolated. Exactly. So you're definitely filling an important niche there, and welcome. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being so patient Debra Martin, you're an ordained healing minister. I've actually had the opportunity to have a healing with you that's been written about in one of your books, and you please say hello and tell us how are you feeling all of this collective consciousness energy yourself as a sensitive?
Well, thank you for having me on your show. Yes, this week twice I did. One morning I woke up and I had this heaviness on me, and I'm like, why am I feeling so heavy? It was like a huge blanket and I couldn't lift it, right? And so I'm like, I know this isn't me. I'm just feeling the fear, the anxiety, the worry that's on top of me. Then another day I woke up and I had these nerves inside. I wasn't like shaking, but you felt like you were shaking. And I'm going, what is going on? So I had to become aware of it, right? That's the first thing that we have to do is, what are we thinking? And now we have to be aware of what we're thinking, right? And then we have to change it. We have to shift those thoughts. So now I took what I was feeling and I shifted it. And what did I choose to do? For me, gratitude is my foundation. If I use gratitude and start looking around, even my home, like, I'm so grateful. I'm grateful for my couch. I am gratitude that I have a home. I'm gratitude for the flowers outside, whatever it may be. So if we start to see the things around us and shift from that fear and go into this place of gratitude, that brings the joy, that brings us healing, that brings us calmness. So as soon as you start thinking that way, that fearful way, recognize it. If you have to wear a rubber band, I always say snap it, get your attention, shift it, and go to that place. For me, like I said, gratitude. What is your space? Ask yourself, what will bring you back to that center of feeling calm and at peace?
Well, I think it does people a lot of good to hear that even someone like you can start to spiral into a place that we don't really want to stay for very long. But listen, don't judge yourself, guys. Whoever's feeling that when you get in that spiral, that is a moment of recognition. I am having a human experience. I'm here. I'm human. I'm not perfect, but it's just a reminder of why we're here on earth. Craig says something about, we have experiences, we have joy, and we suffer. Great contrast. We're in a period of upset and great contrast right now. So before we go any further and give you guys some ideas and some tools, some thoughts from the panel, I'd like us to sit in the power together. And for those of you who are not familiar with the term, it is sitting in the power and the presence of the oneness. And the whole title of this panel is We Are One, Hope and Inner Peace Now. And that's why we're here. We're not going to talk about scientific terms or statistics or anything like that, but more about lifting you up here and now. And also to explore the opportunities for positive change. I personally feel like we have a grand opportunity in front of us to take better care of ourselves, to take better care of humankind, to take better care of Earth. So sitting in the power is not receiving information or receiving messages. It is an acknowledgement of the unity, the oneness, that this so-called veil between the worlds, the so-called separation between all of us as spiritual beings. I think it's a quantum physical manifestation of our all too human belief that somehow we're apart from the source, that somehow we're apart from each other. And now we're getting this very stark reminder, no. You know what affects the one does affect the other. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to play a little bit of music. I'm going to ask everybody who's watching if it's comfortable for you to sit up straight, or if you're lying down is fine too. It's important to have the spine straight for an energy flow. Just go with it. Just trust me. Even if you're sitting and you're watching, your partner wanted to watch this and you really didn't. The worst thing that can happen is you're going to feel very relaxed for about 5 minutes. And that can be a good thing, my dears. And I'm going to start some music here. I'd like you now to take a nice big cleansing breath in and let this breath all the way out. And now visualize or imagine or simply know that deep within you, deep within your abdomen, there is a bright white light shining. And this light represents your life force energy. And now take another big breath in and breathe all the way out. Now visualize, imagine, or simply know that this light is growing brighter and brighter, illuminating your entire body so that now you are shining from within and shining all around you. And take one more big breath in and release it completely. I'm going to count from 3 to 1, and when I reach 1, I want you to push this light out with your mind, push it and fill the room. 3, 2, and 1. Fill the room with this vibrant, healing white light. And now push this light out with your mind and fill the city where you are. And now push it to fill the planet. Imagine all of the people on the planet smiling as they're bathed in this divine, healing white light. We send this light out to all those in need of physical, emotional, spiritual healing. We ask that this white light surround all of our medical professionals, our first responders, all those who are working in service to humanity at this moment on this planet. We send this light out to those who are on ventilators. We send a thought to those who are very ill, that they're surrounded by loving beings of light. We connect in consciousness with all beings in prayer, meditation, in positive intention at this time. Now bring your attention back to the light within you. Now somewhere above your head, an even brighter, more intense light is developing. This intense light above you represents the One, the universal consciousness. I'll count from 3 to 1, and when I reach 1, turn up your light again and blend with this greater light. 3, 2, and 1. Merge. And now sit in the power and in the presence. We are one. Focus on your breath. Not too fast, not too slow. Effortlessly. Follow your breath in and out. And now simply be for just a moment. We are one. Let this light seal any of the tears in the energy around you so you can hold all of the divine source, all of the light, all of the love and compassion. Let all of your thoughts, words, and actions be grounded in love, compassion, respect, wisdom, and peace. Take another big cleansing breath in and release it. And you can sit blending your light with the greater light for minutes, for hours. Rabbi Shai mentioned having rituals, and that is one of the most lovely things that organized religion has given us. My ritual when I first wake up in the morning is, I'm here. Okay, great. Thank you. What do I need to know today? How can I be of service? How can I help people? And so let's talk now about what are the potential gifts? What are the potential changes that we can make? I personally feel like the world has changed. I don't want to see us go back completely to business as usual. So I'm going to open this up now to the panel, and all I ask you to do is just give me a little wave, and I'll say your name. And then that way I know who's going to speak next. But if we talk on each other, so be it. We'll work it out. What do you see as one big gift, something that we can learn right now and change for the better?
I think that we're all being asked to go deeper into our hearts at this time. And instead of, the news where we would hear something about somebody in Italy or Zimbabwe or the world news, we now can feel for them. There's a new compassion. There's a deeper level of understanding and connection. And I think that that is one of the main gifts. I also want to say that as we find ourselves going, what if this happens? What if that happens? That the what ifs start creating anxiety and panic, and it can start going. When we go, if only this would have happened, if only I would have done this, and we go backwards, that can start taking us into, it can go to depression or just that we're stuck in the past. We can move around in both places, but if we come back to what is in the present moment, that's where the peace is. And
so
that's
are you giving a heads up? Don't get stuck in these political arguments about it's this person's fault or this government agency's fault that it's this bad or whatever. Are you talking about the more individual level of?
I think it's on both levels, because I think as we get the news or as we get information, we can start to go, well, what if there's not enough food? What if I go and I can't get toilet paper again? What if this happens? What if that happens? And then we start to get on this roll within ourselves and our own mind. And so coming back to what is, and then on a larger level, we don't know what is at this moment. What we know, in the moment that we have right now, we know about that, right? But we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So we're day to day at this time. Craig had mentioned about, different sides. I think that we've also learned in this, competition, comparison. There's a quote that comes to mind that's, there is no competition for my divine mission. And all of us have a divine mission and a note we're to play. So it's like looking at an orchestra when people are playing off key, boy, is it noticeable. And I think at this time, there's harmony. There's the possibility of harmony of coming together. Michael and I were talking about, we've been asked to social distance, right? But let's not emotional distance, because it's a Mm-hmm.
Social, not emotional. Shai, you had wanted to say something here.
Yeah, I think just to add to that, I think that we also are learning how to connect again in ways that we haven't. I mean, technology, we're learning also that technology is amazing and is from a spiritual level, because right now we're connecting all over the place. We realize, oh, I have to go on Zoom and connect with people. I have to text, I have to call. We're seeking out people because, which is funny, through technology, which before we were just kind of sitting on our phones and we're going to dinner and sitting on our phones and not paying attention. Now we're saying, wow, you know, when I go out to dinner with you next time, when this is over, I'm really going to sit there and be present, and I'm present right now.
Yeah, okay, so presence. We're learning that presence doesn't depend on being in person, but in the past we thought we were present, but we were just doing this on a phone.
On a phone. And it also, we're learning the connection to connect again in terms of nature, in terms of, again, we're inside, where sometimes we can go outside, but we appreciate it more. I think we're learning to take deep breaths, and we're learning to look around and say, wow, it's spring. What could I do now that it's spring to go out? Whereas before, maybe we looked up, we said, it's spring, you know, it's spring, it's nice outside. Now we're actually going for a walk, maybe with our dog, maybe with our spouse, our partner, and we're actually saying, wow, this is great. We're breathing the air, and we're feeling that the air is a little cleaner. It's a little calmer. It's funny because I think nature is actually, today the birds sounded a lot chirpier to me and happy than, and cats playing outside. I was watching outside my car, and cats were just running around like it was, you know, their world. And so I think there's something to that too. We're learning how to maybe combine our worlds, our technological world that's great and and is helpful in getting us to different places and connect all over the world. And then also, how do we make the real connections with ourselves, with our family, with our friends, and with the world on the whole?
And that speaks to the quality of the connections with people. You know, I've been encouraging folks, if you have an elderly loved one or friend, call them. Not the text. Some of them, you know, maybe their hands are shaky, they can't see the buttons, or, you know, it's a little too difficult. Just call them and talk to them. And I hear people are talking more. I have a question from a woman here in Spain who says, I have found myself reaching out to people I thought were my enemies, you know, people who actually, you know, did her wrong. And she's like, you know, am I having a breakdown? What, I'm just saying, hey, how are you doing? And they're answering me back. So comments about that. Margaret.
And this kind of ties in with one of the things that I think we're gaining is, you know, from an American lens, we've lost, I think there was a time where we were more about the collective in some ways. And I think that this has really opened us up to, not all of us, because I'm sure that question is coming, but a lot of us are now starting to think about what we can do for the collective. How do we keep each other safe? You know, social distancing for many of us is not necessarily about us, it's for the person that we don't know, whose immune system can't handle it, or whatever the case may be. So I feel like this ties in with the woman from Spain, that she's, you know, her vibe is rising, right? Her vibration is rising, and she's thinking more about the collective, not thinking about herself or anything petty with the other ladies. So she is probably, you know, she's probably thinking about everybody in her phone book at this point.
Yeah. And there have been some surprising behaviors, and, you know, good, positive behaviors are really what I want to focus on. We've all heard about the bad things. But what are some of the things that you yourself have experienced, or something you've done that even surprised you? Any takers on that?
Okay.
Oh, Craig. I think you're muted.
Debra.
Oh, okay, I see. There you go, Debra.
What's surprising to me was this week I had to go give blood, right, to get some blood tests done. And as I went up the staircase, there was a man coming down the staircase, and he was frightened. Oh no, we're not going to be, you know, stand far enough apart. And so I just kept proceeding to go, like, you're going to be okay. But I could see the fear in his eyes. I mean, he stood against the wall like, oh my gosh, is this safe? When I went in to get my blood drawn in the lobby, on the chairs were big tape. They were taped. These chairs were taped because wherever you sat, somebody sat, you were not allowed to sit on that chair until it was cleansed. So I was seeing this change that I've never seen before. And I was thinking, okay, how do I want to embrace this? Well, we have to embrace it by being smart and listen to what we have to do for our part. But for me, I also think that it's a gift of time. So many people are struggling having to stay home because they're such a busybody, they're always on the go. And I try to tell them, well, maybe it's your time to learn about you. What is it what brings you joy? We are human beings having a human experience, and being a human being, we can just be, but so many of us do not know how to. And maybe this is the time that we learn how to just be and how to connect, and how do we want to connect, and how are we going to bring that joy. I have a daughter that's a senior in high school, and she's losing everything in her school. She can't see her friends, she can't go to work. She has no prom her senior year, she's not going to have a graduation, but she's released all that. Like, okay, well, what are we going to do now? Like Tina, staying in this now. And what am I going to teach her? How I react is what she's going to see. So if I react with staying calm and balanced and saying, hey, you want to make some smoothies? Or I've been joking lately, like every night, it's like, I want ice cream. She's like, I never saw you like ice cream so much. Oh my gosh, now it's comical. Are you going to eat ice cream tonight? So it's like bringing laughter into the house. But she's also watching where, she's mirror imaging me. How is mom going to take this? Right? You have to really be conscious of how we are reacting. This is time for us to look at our inner self. Our true self is showing through all this, because it's not easy.
That's an excellent point. We're modeling the way, all of us, every single person, whether you're a parent, the child, or whatever, people are really watching reactions. They're really listening. They're really paying attention. And it's because we all want to feel safe. I think we want to feel safe. And all of a sudden, we had built up so much around us that we thought, I know my world, my part of the world is safe. It's predictable. And it's not so much anymore. I'll tell you something that happened to me. This is about 3 weeks ago. It's before any quarantines or any, stay at home things were happening. I was at a big Walmart in Arizona, and there was a woman who was just coughing and coughing right directly into her hand, just coughing and coughing and coughing. And she was coughing so hard, she actually lost her balance and she fell over. And I just ran to her, and I looked around and I could see people just pause for 1 second, like germs, but everybody that saw that ran to her and was there to help her. And that did my heart good, because even though, we don't want to see somebody out sick. And again, this is before any warnings were out there. We want to make sure that lady was okay. And she was. She got up, she got her stuff, and she left. Another thing that surprised me is I actually had anger that there was no Tylenol on the shelf. And I'm like, I feel so angry. Why am I so angry that there's no Tylenol? I wasn't angry about toilet paper, but I'm angry that there's no Tylenol on the shelf and it's all cleaned out. And I realized, I think I'm going through grief. Like, first the denial. This isn't as big as everybody says it's going to be. And I think about Elizabeth Kubler-Ross and her stages of grief that she wrote about and researched, and then the anger, and it passed very quickly. But so, are we grieving? Are we grieving a lost way of life? Yeah. What do you think?
Yeah, I think in a way we are, and I think that the grief also comes with confusion, because we're not just grieving, it's not a tangible grief a lot of times, because maybe we're in a place where we don't see as many cases, or we don't, or we're just in our homes and it just doesn't, it's all seeming surreal. And so we're bombarded with all these, the news and everything else. And sometimes we're in this grief, but we also say, well, why am I grieving? You know, and we're confused about what is it that I should be grieving about. And that's, you know, ironically, as we all know, that's part of the grieving process. And I think that we're also getting into a place where we're turning that grief into some kind of action, in terms of, you know, so I'll give an example from our house. So in the Jewish tradition, we have Shabbat every Friday night through Saturday. And it's a nice thing. We kind of stop for one day of the week, 24 hours, and we sort of have a meal with family. We sing songs, we say some blessings, and it's really nice. Well, you know, now we can't do that with our families necessarily, unless they're with us. And so we started doing that on Zoom, or maybe we go on live Facebook and we sing like crazy and we make fools of ourselves, but everybody else in the family can join in as well. Or we have a martini at 5 o'clock because it's happy hour, you know, and if you're a person that drinks, and in moderation, of course. And those are the kind of things that we need to do as well to kind of get us a little bit out of the grief, because grief also implies that it's the end and that something finished, and it has. However, it's also a beginning. And so by doing these little things like the ice cream, I love that. I might start that as well. But you know, having a little bit more ice cream and not worrying. Yes, we have to exercise, obviously, but let's not worry so much. Let's exercise, but, you know, I don't know, be creative about it. But then let's have a nice meal. Let's be formal maybe one night of the week. I saw that somewhere. Let's have that martini, you know, and just have a party. Why can't we have a party every single day if we want? And I think those are the practical things that we're trying to do. And I think those are the things that will get us out of grief and into the next stage of really the action. What can I do now? How can I help? The other thing that we can actually do, and, you know, I'm going on, but is that it's actually find ways that we can help other people. Maybe start a fundraiser for all these doctors and nurses and our healthcare professionals in places that need masks and all kinds of things. Or a food bank, or if you're able, go out and volunteer. There are people who are still out there volunteering. I talk to them all the time, and they're the unsung heroes who go deliver meals. And so I think those are the things that we can really do to get us a little bit out of that confusion and out of the grief, and to feel a little bit more. Sometimes grief is also the loss of control. Yeah. And right now we're very lost for control. And so just a little bit of something that we can do in our corner to gain back a little bit of semblance of something like control.
In a sense of purpose. A lot of people feel like this calls everything into question, and like everything's in question already when you first get here. That this control that we think we have is an illusion. But I kind of feel like the purpose of each person is to try to bring a little bit of heaven to earth. I had a Baptist minister friend say to me one time, Suzanne, this is hell. We're supposed to be bringing heaven here, you know, right? So I want to ask you, Craig, about what would you say to a filmmaker who has been just making what Hollywood wants? Is there an opportunity here to maybe shift gears a little bit and give Hollywood some more spiritual art? You know, what would you tell a filmmaker who's like, I've got some free time right now?
Well, that's what can you hear me? I don't.
Perfect.
Okay. Well, that's what I have been doing for a year or two, is making these documentaries, you know, the series to help people. You know, the 3 H's like you talk about, Suzanne. But unfortunately,
being helpful, hopeful, and healing.
Right. I thought, yeah, I'm sorry. I thought everybody knew that. You know, I love that. Was it Edgar Cayce?
Cayce, yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, so I made a decision to see, I make movies and I make a living. And then I make this stuff, and it doesn't really make a living. It's kind of expensive because I have to do a lot of marketing because it's just not mainstream.
And by this stuff, you're talking about people realizing that they are intuitive, that they have the ability to direct connect with guides, angels, and loved ones. Is that right?
Right. Well, see, that we all know that, but the problem is with Hollywood is it doesn't sell. Right now, it doesn't sell. Somebody has to create that genre for it to live in that space, like a comedy, drama, spirituality. I can see these things happening. But unfortunately, Hollywood took the dark path and used a lot of, scary stuff because it's entertainment. So it's been a difficult process for me. I think I've been death threatened several times. I'm going to burn in fire. One said I'm an executive for Satan. I was like, where's my suit? I want a suit, right?
Well,
I'm going to be an exec for Satan. I want to have the threads. I'm sure he's decked out.
You've made really uplifting Christian movies, like family.
Yeah, well, that's where I started out in, because there was actually a genre, the faith genre, but it kind of excluded Judaism. It kind of excluded, Muslim stuff. It was all about Christianity. I mean, I'm all about that. I was a Catholic growing up, but I always loved spirituality. I had lost a brother to a car accident, another brother to suicide, and now both of my parents are gone. So I'm all about, they're over there and I'm here, so it's really driven into me. But as far as the content, that's what my mission is, to create that space where the content, because the spiritual stuff can be really, those aha moments, where comedy makes you laugh, thrillers make you adrenaline. I love how that, that makes you feel. There's stuff that it can make you feel. It can make people cry. I mean, but we talked about another thing. I'd like to bring up a subject of mine that was in the fourth episode. She's a 25-year-old girl. She became a quadriplegic and blind for 3 years. And I said, what happened in that 3 years? She said, I'm blind. I can't move. My mom has to feed me. So what did I do? I went within. She just went within, focused on her toes, ankles for weeks. I could focus on my knee for 2 weeks. She had all this time. Now she's a healer because she's tuned in. So what this whole quarantine thing is kind of like, it really allows you to kind of go within. And I think we've all said this on the panel, and I think it's kind of cool. But I would like to ask the mediums the question is, do you feel that when we all break out of our caves and start to hug each other again, do you think that the COVID is that catalyst to break us out so we become one again? Because I think I felt this coming. I did. I was driving in the car. This was weeks before I even heard about China having it. And I was driving in the car and I was like, I don't want to be outside. Something's not right. I'm sure you guys have felt this. I felt it coming and I was like, people, I was getting weird. And I was like, oh, Craig, it's because you've been editing for 3 months in your cave. So my rational mind got into it. But now I understand.
Tina, would you like to speak to that?
So as we come out of this, yes, I think that as far as I was talking about earlier, being in our hearts, I think that people's skills, I think a lot of people are going to wake up in this moment. Don't you all think so too? As we go inward, as we look at our own gifts and talents. I remember growing up also in a family where there was music, there were musicians. We all went to the living room. Somebody played the piano, somebody, played the guitar, the violin. And this is, those gifts came not just watching somebody else having fun on television, about our own. And so we're going into gratitude. And as we come out of this, I think that so many more people will be waking up in their own abilities, their own power. I felt something, but I didn't know what it was. I don't know that a lot of us mediums got the message clearly, oh, there is a virus, but there was a heaviness that I felt. It also felt like karmic events were happening quicker and quicker that seemed own personal karmic events with people coming in succession of possible healings, possible problems, all of these things coming up that were disruptions I noticed over the past few months, and an opportunity to get back into possibly my own light and empowerment and balance at that time. And so I think as we come out of this, the hope is, or that we bring that back into the world. And I have positive vibes about that. I also think this is a reset for the planet. All the animals, the ocean, those that don't have the human voice, certainly the sentient beings have a channel, but they're not always heard by mass mind, or, and so this is, they're speaking loud and clear as well. Don't you think? I saw a film clip in Venice that after here just even a few weeks, the waters had cleared there, the fish were back. And I, in my mind, I also saw, those controlled burns that happen. I don't want to exactly, but that happen sometimes in humanity, or in the forests, or all over, that somehow that this was happening on the earth and rebooting and resetting. I certainly, as a medium, don't have the answers, but my hope is that everybody comes back into their light center, and therefore we all become closer around the globe because of this.
So you're talking, Tina, about a personal wake-up call, and then
Oh,
like a global wake-up call.
I think they go hand in hand.
We're getting it on all levels, because I was seeing a lot of angst and a lot of, oh, this is going wrong in my life, and this, and I felt like, man, something's going to happen. It's like the kettle is coming to a boil, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How about for you, Debra?
That's what I was talking about earlier, when I was feeling that heaviness, that energy, and then being aware of what that energy is. And I think right now what we all need to take time for is, what lesson is this teaching us? Learn from this, because if we can learn from this, it can be something that is so tragic, could be our best blessing. And I want to see it as a blessing, because we're taking the time to really love one another. We are reaching out to those people that we haven't seen. I'm standing in my driveway, and the neighbors are coming out in their driveway. We're talking back and forth, because now we're not really getting it together, but we're still making sure, are you okay? Is there anything that you need? And I think we're feeling that love, we're sharing that love, and we're making sure, what can I do for someone? So moving forward, I think we're learning this tool, and we should continue to do what we're doing now, later, when everything goes back to normal.
Yeah, and I don't think everything's going to be the same. Normal in terms of, businesses open, I hope people continue to wash their hands properly. I was more scared of, people just now washing their hands, than a lot of other things. But we've had more time, and time is precious. It's just, you cannot put a dollar value on time. And in that free time, we've been able to think about not just what's important to us, but are we wasting our lives right now? Have we identified our own talents and unique gifts? Are we leveraging those in some way to help ourselves, to help others? Do we really need all this stuff we have? You wouldn't believe, I have probably, 30 some emails from people saying they're reorganizing their house. They're throwing out tchotchkes that have no meaning. They're getting ready for a garage sale when they can, not have the distance again. And it's like they're paring down. Now, I'm not saying we're all going to live in tiny houses when this is over, but I think we're going to see a different emphasis on what's important in life. And I do believe that can last. Now, I want to get to something that's a little heavier. And this is what I have the most questions collected on. I lost count how many people have asked this question, email, IM, responses to my newsletter, etc. So here it is. Do you believe that the spirit world, God, angels, whomever, guides, set up this event to help us grow and help us learn and help us shift in humanity? And a part of that question is also, do you believe that we as souls knew before we were born we were going to be here to live through, and some of us not live through, but to experience a pandemic? So was it pre-planned to be just like this, and was it pre-planned by us? So hello, I volunteer.
Woo, that's a heavy question. Because
Yeah.
there is free will on this planet, right?
Right.
And there is a, did you want to speak, Margaret? I'm sorry, I didn't know if I
Oh,
saw
no, no. I did want to mention from the last question, and it may tie into this as well. I think that we live in a culture of exhaustion, and it's really celebrated. And I think in this moment, we're all being asked to slow down and rest. And I think, I'm a nap taker. My friends know that I take my naps, but I have friends who do not do that, who do not rest. And I think through taking these guilt-free naps and sleeping through the day, that's where the hidden gifts come from. That's where we hear our purpose. That's where we're able to sort of clear, everything that's keeping us from hearing our intuition. But in terms of this bigger question, I will leave the heavier part to the mediums because I don't know. But I do think that I can talk about my team in particular. I think that they probably knew, they definitely knew the moment was coming in terms of us being home and having this time. And I think they prepared me to be as productive as possible not for my real job, but for the Vibe Rise, for the spiritual work that I want to get involved in, because things are coming up that, just haven't. So I think that there's something happening in terms of our teams pushing us more towards purpose in this time. And I think the rest and the openness to intuition is needed for us to even hear it. So we needed this quiet.
And so, Margaret, when you talk about the teams, you're talking about the spiritual team that many of us believe that each individual on earth has, made up of guides that work behind the scenes, angels, our loved ones who've transitioned to the other side of life. They love us. They want us to get the most out of life. And so you have felt your team preparing you?
Absolutely. Because when everything started to happen, I actually got laid off in January. So I was unemployed. And they hit me really quickly with a lot of interviews, a lot of things going on. But I started my new job this Monday. So I was in a period of time where everything's shutting down. Cities are closing. Jobs are, I'm getting emails like daily of jobs, recs that have been closed that, I was hearing from. So there was this moment of calm, I think. And I didn't have a lot of anxiety around it because I always felt just completely supported, loved, and just like guided, not only from that side, but from this side. So I felt like they had just assembled this like kind of like a bouncy house, so that anytime like something happened, it just like, it knocked me down, but I got right back up, and everything just has been.
I like that.
So, I mean, that's what I think. I mean, I think they knew this was coming, and they were like, okay, she's a little crazy, so we have to get her ready. So she doesn't like, completely just lose it. And they did. They set it, completely set it up for me. So.
Well, and those are major things that really get your attention. John Lennon said, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Right.
Job loss and then a new job and all that. But, if people are journaling, I always ask my intuition development, mediumship development students, journal signs, symbols, synchronicities, dreams, things that are happening, because you can see things coming. So, Tina, I would love to have you and Debra, especially, Margaret mentioned, let's see what the mediums think. I'm not sure we know all the answers, but we certainly, we ask a lot of questions of our own teams. What do you think, Tina? Did the spirit world set this up for a reason?
I think that this is the planet, obviously, of free will. And again, I'm going to go to Craig. There are polar opposites on this planet. There's love, hate. There's every option here. There's fear, doubt. We can go all over the board, and it's I don't want to say a playground because that makes it, but it is in a certain way of where we stand and how we react to things. Is everything pre-planned? I don't buy it. I always say this is what I know so far. Was it planned to be a very historic time on the planet? Did we volunteer to be here at this time? I would say yes to this. Could this have stopped had perhaps more people been awake, or there are a lot of questions. I don't believe that this epidemic was pre-planned by spirit. What do you think, Deborah?
That's so funny. The camera went over to Debra, like on cue.
Well, many years ago, like you talk about journaling. I journal a lot of things that come to me, and maybe they don't mean anything at this time. So I journaled, and I was in Shaman's Cave in Sedona at the time with a friend. And this information came to me that the world was going to be shaken. And why was it going to be shaken? Because it was going to be an awakening for us, but it was for the whole world. And I saw that the government was going to have lockdowns and we were going to be in our house. And I remember my friend looking at me going, this is scary. You're not serious. You're really seeing this. And I said, I'm just voicing what I'm receiving. And so when this showed up, I mean, this was years ago. When this showed up, I was like, oh my gosh, it's here. We're going to face this. So I go back to the awakening, we look at all the floods that we had, right? We look at the fires that we're having. We look at the earthquakes. Nothing's getting our attention the way this is.
Right.
So I believe that, yes, we are being shaken for an awakening to better ourselves, to become one with each other. Did I know that before I was born? I can't say yes or no. I was given the information. I think a lot of us worldwide probably had premonitions, just like some of us say that we did on 9/11, right? That it was an awareness, it was premonition to
give prophecy.
Us.
There are studies about the changes in the collective consciousness and the energy on the earth to show that was happening. Yeah, and we'll probably hear about similar things with this.
Well, I think that was happening for us, but why does that happen? Because we're light workers, right? And we have to get balanced and centered and go, okay, this is okay. Now, there's so many times I see on Facebook people posting and saying, oh my gosh, read this, look at this. This is so scary. I'm so scared. But what are they scared of? They're scared of the unknown. And we are presented with the unknown right now. But every day we have the unknown. When we drive in the car, we don't know what's going to happen to us. Every day we have unknowns, but this for some reason is bringing a lot of panic. And so you see people in hospital beds, oh my gosh, they're by themselves. And now it's like, oh, I don't want that to happen to me. Instead of surrounding that with love and saying, everything's going to be okay. I'm okay. Right now, I'm okay. I'm not going to go in the past of what's happened. I'm not going to go too far in the future, because we talk about we can't control this, can we? The only thing we can control is our happiness, our joy, and our peace here. And I think that's what the universe wants us to learn and to do.
Do you think that there was a timing around your having curable cancer and this event?
You know, that's interesting that you said that, because I have it on here about sharing this. So I'm so glad you said it. What I learned with cancer was I couldn't fear it. I didn't want it to become my enemy. So in order to do that, I had to love it, right? I had to nurture it.
You had to love the cancer?
I had to love cancer. Yes, I had to embrace the cancer. I had to say, you know what? What lesson are you bringing to me? So when you love something, you're nurturing it, you're healing it, right? So if we look at the coronavirus as it's paralyzing all of us, as it's a black ball, what should we all be doing? Shouldn't we all be sending love and light to it? Would it have less power? Because fear is power. Mm-hmm. And I think it's time that we think of it differently and spread the love and say, you know what? I'm going to embrace this corona. We have to. But why don't we bring light and love to it, and maybe it'll diminish it, rather than fear it, and that fear just goes viral, and then the TV goes crazy, the networks go crazy, and then we're sitting at home going, oh my God, is this still happening? Rather than saying, you know what, I'm not going to go there. I'm just going to be in this peace and lovely place like I did with cancer. And it worked. With the cancer, it worked. It couldn't have bad. I was stage 4. If it would have went any further, I would have had any turning back. Now I had to go through the treatment, right? Those aren't fun, but I had embraced the treatment. You know, we have to embrace everything that's being brought to us, because if we do, we are looking at it as a lesson rather than as an enemy.
Yeah, I've been praying for angels of light to
Right.
surround that molecule, that virus, wherever it is. My understanding is, and of course we're not scientists or physicians here, that my understanding is that it's inert, it's dead, it has no effect until a layer of fat around it burns off, and there's like 6 different steps that this COVID-19 has to go through in the human body before it can become a full-blown illness. So I'm just like, angels of light, find it wherever it is inert, surround it in light now.
And I'd like to offer another little slightly different perspective to this, is that this world is imperfect. We didn't come into a perfect world. We have a term that's called tikkun olam, repairing the earth. And our job on this planet is to reach a place where this world becomes perfect. Now, it was created with all the viruses, with the germs, with everything else. And believe it or not, angels sometimes are not just our guides, they're also human beings. They could be the scientists, the doctors. They are also our angels. They receive powers to, they have a brain that's brilliant, that can find cures, it can find ways to beat these things. And I think sometimes it's great. We should do both. We should pray, and we should send the love and light that's amazing to the virus and try, but we should also take time to pray for all of these brilliant people who are our angels right now, who do have the brain capacity and spirituality as well. Einstein was a Kabbalist.
Yes.
A lot of his theories came from Kabbalah, which is Jewish mysticism. And so scientists are not, we say it's science or spiritual, and it's really not. Spirituality and science, and that's one thing that's also coming out of this. We're really becoming a lot more aware of both. There's no reason to not believe that when a doctor and a scientist finds a cure or some kind of therapeutic that helps us, whether it's whatever it is, especially for the virus, that does come from spirit. They are the people, they are the angels on earth that are chosen at this time. All the doctors and nurses that are working so hard, they are giving hope. So yes, it's not in the way that we are seeing it or the way that we explain it to people,
right.
But they really are in the trenches. They are the people if you're alone by yourself in a room and you're sick and there's no one there and the nurse comes in and smiles at you, it's the best thing ever, So I think we also need to do both. We need to have the spiritual, call our angels from there. But there are a lot of angels on this earth that we need to start paying attention to and really elevating and raising. And I'm talking about teachers and doctors and, every people that we're not really paying attention to. That's what we need to also do, and also give them love and raise awareness about them as well.
Well, and I'm so glad that you said that. I have email from medical professionals, practitioners in the field right now. And they're talking about how there's a great amount of depression. They're overwhelmed, they're tired, they're working 20-hour days, many of them. And they're saying, it's heartbreaking to see people on ventilators. They're lying on their stomach, from what I understand, because it's the best way to get all of that out of the lungs when they're on the ventilator. And they said it's heartbreaking to see them lying like that and dying alone. And let's get the message out. Nobody dies alone.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody dies alone. I mean, they'll be surrounded by people they know from the spirit world that are with them. And my understanding and my experience in communication with the spirit world, and all 3 of the mediums that are on this panel, we're research medium. We've worked with the universities. We've been subjected to the scientific methods and double-blind, triple-blind studies. So I put that out there just as kind of like a threshold for what I'm going to say next, is that we're told a lot that before a painful death, that the spirit world helps the soul just slip from the body and not be in that moment of excruciating pain.
Right.
So people, nobody is really dying alone. It's just the way we perceive it. And, you know, Rabbi Shai, I also want to ask you, because I have emails, thankfully not too many, but it's very poignant that they're saying, what about a jealous and punishing God? We're worshiping this and this. And that. What do you say to those folks?
Yeah, I don't believe in that. I don't think we have yes, we have verses in the Bible that were written by man, maybe inspired by a spirit, you know, but ultimately we've interpreted them, and that's a human message. As humans, to be able to control people, even some religious leaders at certain points, even today, or politicians, we use certain things to instill fear. I don't believe that there's such a thing as judgment, or and in Judaism we very much don't believe in judgment and hell and heaven even. I mean, heaven, there's another world, of course, there's the world beyond, but it's not so clear cut. And so I don't think this is a judgment. It's more, again, we are in an imperfect world, and I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for this, but nothing is what is perfect.
You can
yeah, well, what is perfection anyway? And is God, whatever we call God, is that a perfect being? And what does that mean, right? And so we're so focused on this perfection, but how about let's focus on fixing, on tikkun, on fixing the world, and on finding out what is our purpose here, and really going out there and changing things, instead of just sitting there and saying, well, it's this judge sitting up there, but where, up where, or down where, you know, it's not up there, down there, it's all with us. But we are in this place, we're in a school right now, and we are learning lessons. And so there are consequences to things that we do, whether it's a good consequence or bad. And again, what is bad? I could go on, there are stories about that, that sometimes what we perceive as a bad consequence is actually really a blessing in disguise, or something. Sometimes we think we've been cursed or something is bad. But for example, you know, you may have lost your job and you think, oh my God, I'm never going to work again. This is the worst thing. I've worked here for 20 years. But all of a sudden tomorrow, someone calls you and says, would you like to do a Zoom thing and give advice to people about, maybe you're an accountant, I don't know. And would you like to do taxes and help people, and so there are all these, and all of a sudden you find yourself in a whole new place that you've never would have been in, and you might even be more successful. So the point is that we need to really look at things not in terms of judgment, in terms of this happened because. I see that all the time, religious leaders. Oh, it's the gays, it's the Jews, it's the Muslims, it's the, and
blaming.
That's not the case. That is not the case at all. That's them saying it. That's not God.
That's moving back into separation again.
Separation, exactly.
Farther from the divine within.
Yeah, and there's only one. If we do the concept of, the oneness that we're talking about here, that's really what it is. But again, we are in an imperfect world, and our job, and I think if people really kind of sat there and just listened to that, and then maybe thought about it, our job here is to fix the world. And if you go about your life fixing the world instead of saying, oh, this is happening because, I think we're in a much better place. And yes, things are going to happen. I mean, again, the viruses have been here, will be here. That's just part of creation. They're living beings that are here, that are part of our life. I know that since I was born, I mean, when I was a kid, I was always sanitizing. People would laugh at me. Now I'm like, wow, I wouldn't hug people sometimes, things like, and I would sanitize things everywhere I went, and people would look at me like I was this, offended by, and sometimes I thought I was a little extreme too. Maybe it was a message for me from somewhere. But so I think that we do need to pay more attention. And how about we go to a place of fixing the world, tikkun olam, instead of just always thinking about, oh, I'm being judged, something bad is happening to me because. Well, no, the bad things happen,
Yes, preach. I told you they were good, everybody. I told you I got the people I wanted for this. I think the spirit will whisper in my ear. We just have a few minutes left, so I want to come to each of you. I want to ask you, how can people find you? How can they learn more about what you're doing? What are you working on right now? And also, I want to ask each one of you, what do you personally do to stay centered? I mean, just your personal life, what works for you. I want to start with Craig. How do people find you, find more about you? What are you working on now? How do you personally stay centered?
Mine's pretty easy. You just go to Amazon and plunk in my name, and you'll see the Life to Afterlife series. What was the other question?
How do you stay centered? You're editing so much. It's like you're a working fiend. You're always in there.
Yeah,
I have so many films going right now.
I work every day. I work every
Yeah.
day, many hours. The editing process is more than just the filming. I spent with you one day,
Yeah.
but it was lots of editing. But I'm in tune with my circadian rhythms, and I'm more of a science kind of part of it. Like I actually believe that this was planned, this whole thing.
Okay, let's talk about that.
Well, I'm a little out of the group probably, but I come back to the divine virtues. And the reason why I'm not developing my clairvoyance or my skills is because I was about 20 years old and I was meditating all the time. And this elder came to me and said, Craig, why are you so concerned about the afterworld? You're going to be there in an instant. So many years I thought I was going to die, which I didn't. And I know what this entity was saying was that you need to focus on this earth, what you're doing here, the relationships I have. If I have a challenge with honesty, patience,
Right.
gentleness, anything, how am I handling it? So I know in the afterworld, we can talk about, in theory, about toleration or any one of the virtues. We can talk about it, and we can spend hundreds of years in academic looking at books and talking about it. But coming down to earth is like the super course. We can learn real fast because of the immersion of it. And sometimes it's very painful. But those
So
sometimes
did you as a soul say, I want to be there for that, since it's being planned by the did you say, I gotta be there for that?
I've got another thing that I did, which I'm not really sure this is a good idea for the viewers at home. What I did was in my pre-planning stages, I said, now y'all don't give me any help. Don't tell me any of the answers. I want to figure this one out on my own.
Yeah, because if the teacher
dumb thing to do.
How would you learn?
I said, I'm going to figure it out on my own, right?
Right.
Because you guys all like, hey, am I doing the right thing? Okay. No, I'm going to figure it. So I kind of regret that, you know. And,
you can change it. The good news is they're listening. They're listening right now. You can change it.
So we're having a better arrangement now. I mean, they're working with me a little bit better. But it's Earth is just a really cool school. I mean, we can learn really, really fast. The pain really sobers us up. I mean, it just rattles our cage when we have, let's say, like Debra with the cancer. It cracked her open. It cracked her open, and she really had to pause and pay attention. And unfortunately, we learned through a lot of pain. And not to make light of it, you know, because it is a painful situation. I think there's a lot of people that are probably wishing they would die because they're coughing every 3 or 4 seconds, and they're at the close spot of dying. I think it really puts you to the edge. And you gotta have courage. Think about that. Think about that word, courage. I mean, you just think how courageous those souls are. Like, just think how Debra was that courageous. I mean, I'm proud of you. I believe you chose that cancer. And I think I am proud of you that you took that course. That's a tough course. And some of the, like in the first season I did, the first episode, I talked to 17 parents who lost children. And I just felt so proud of each and every one of them to actually to say, I'm going to sign up for that course, and I'm going to go through that, and I'm going to come out of it. And that's brave. That is just bravery. I don't even know how they did it, but anyway, so I rambled. Yes, getting back to circadian rhythms. I'm very in tune with my circadian rhythms. I can feel them right when they happen. At 2 o'clock, I have to go and connect with the mothership. I got my my earbuds. I put those in, and I got these these are noise canceling headphones. They have no wires. I put these on in the earbuds with music, and I go away and I come back and I'm good.
Well, it definitely works for your creative process. And I've been so honored to be, I just don't get involved in film projects because I'm afraid they're going to go down the scary, bad, evil demon route. And what you have done with the Life to Afterlife series is amazing. It's so positive and it's so real. And you have another movie coming out right now too, don't you?
Yeah, I've also made a romance movie. It's about a country singer who rises to fame. It's a love story.
What's it called?
Sweet Sunshine.
And that's on Amazon?
Yeah, just the 20th, I think it went on Amazon.
Good.
And then I have a romantic comedy, but Amazon's having some problems. They're going through a lot of their personnel's getting sick.
Yeah,
so everything's kind of slowing down,
Yeah, because I have an episode with you where
that's out. That's out.
Is that on Amazon right now?
No, it's not on Amazon yet. It's in the
interviewed several of my students to show how ordinary everyday people are learning to make their own direct connection with their spirit loved ones themselves without having to go and get a reading with a medium. And developing their intuitive abilities. And that's my whole mission, is to empower people to do it themselves. So thank you for being here today.
Susanne, after I did that one, I realized how important the timing was.
Yes.
We talked about meditation, the monkey mind, all those different things that you discuss in your courses was like right prime time for people to go within and start to listen, sitting in the power and maybe getting acquainted with your spirit guide. Some of us don't really go, what's your name? What shall I call you? It's perfect stuff.
Yeah, it's great timing. I can't wait to see it on Amazon. So Margaret Free, the Vibrise, tell us, what you're up to there. Is there anything you want to add today? And what do you do personally to stay centered right now?
So the Vibrise, I have a website. It's thevibrise.com. Also have a podcast, The Vibrise. You can find it wherever you get your podcasts.
And I'm going to be on there.
Yes, Suzanne's coming. I have a new episode every Wednesday. Also, I'm on all social media platforms, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. I think that's all of them. And the way that I stay balanced is I try to work out on a regular basis so that I can clear my mind. I also have a really strong group of people around me that talk me off of cliffs and remind me of the things that I remind them of. It's just a nice circle of help that I have. And I just, on the Vibrise Instagram page, I just launched a 21-day meditation challenge because I want to learn to meditate. So that, it's truly a challenge.
For beginners, could anybody just start that with you?
Anybody. There are no rules, literally. If you want to do it for 3 minutes, you want to do it for 4 minutes. I'm just getting to like 5 minutes. It's about 3 days in. But yeah, so that's the way that I stay balanced. And I will say that I have seen some new followers come through. So come one, come all.
Right. Excellent. Thank you so much for doing this. I'm so excited for you. It's like a whole new chapter of life for you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous. And congratulations on everything. It's awesome. Tina Powers, how do people find you? What are you up to? And how do you stay centered?
Okay. Well, lately I've been asking right before I go to sleep if my guides have any messages for me. That's something that everybody can do as well. So in the sleep time, a lot of times I get downloads or uploads of if we want to call it that. I'm also, finally I got the message, it's like, move. Because I was just sitting there eating my snacks, right? I was meditating, but I was... Okay. So,
yeah, there it is, the trademark.
So I'm like, I hear my guides going, move. So, I finally started walking and I started talking to my guides at that point, getting myself centered. So I think physical exercise, it's important. You can reach me at tinapowers.com. I've been working on for a while, and we'll see where it's going. It's a series called Reporting for the Other Side. Since I reported a lot of negative news, this is about doing stories about people like all of you and many others who are watching this in the world, a platform for people who are doing what they can to make the world a better place. And that each influence is super strong. I remember meeting Rosa Parks and interviewing her, and it was just one, I asked her probably for the millionth time she'd been asked, you know, why that day? Didn't you get up? And she just said, honey, I was really tired. But that one movement changed everything, right?
That's brilliant. I love that. And you are such a great interviewer. You and I we were doing an event, and we also filmed a documentary that's on streamingforthesoul.com. And do you remember us cracking up? And it's like, so many takes. It's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, laughter, I think, dissolves fear. It dissolves anger. If we can get to that place of laughter, everything, you know, just for moments in this. Yes, this is a very serious time, but do remember and ask yourself what's funny. Also, again, I believe that there were possible wake-up calls along the way here for humanity. I think that it just kept getting worse and worse, and that this is a way, it's a paradigm change, a paradigm shift, as we all come together as one, like you said, that we come out of this better people inside ourselves, more evolvement, and much more connected. So that is what I'm sending out there.
That is amazing. Lovely. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thanks for being here today. Debra Martin, same question. How are you personally staying centered right now? Anything that you want to add for today? And how do people find you? You're doing readings and healings, I believe.
Yes, I am doing readings and healings. I wanted to say to Craig too, thank you for mentioning the cancer. And it does take a lot of courage. I actually wrote a book called Doctors, Faith, and Courage. How do you bring that all together? And we do have to find our team. What is our team? To surround ourselves with the army of team that's going to keep us happy during these times. Because laughter is what really helps and heals the soul. And staying connected. When I had my cancer, the world stopped. Like you talked about the woman that was paralyzed. Everything stops in that moment and nothing matters, right? So I had the gift of time of honoring me. And I never felt so connected. Like there was this connection that I can't even explain when I was having cancer. It was like I wasn't worried. Okay, so then all of a sudden you're healthy and you go back to everything else in your day, and all of a sudden there's that worry. Where is that coming from? Why do I need that worry? I didn't have that before. So we talk about courage. Courage, I think we all have it. It's within us. It's finding that courage when we are afraid and going into it and walking through our day. What are we going to do with that courage to make it a better day? And so for me, it's once again recognizing my thoughts, recognizing my feelings, and getting back to that center. I start every morning in prayer. And, you know, what is it that I'm supposed to do to help others that's going to make their day better, and use me as their vessel. And so what I've been told and what I started was podcasts. And so my assistant said, every time you do a healing or reading, you have so much to share. Why don't you do a podcast and share some of that excitement, share some of that, the knowledge that you're getting from each session. So we have 3 out right now. One is called Courage in Crisis. And it really talks about how to find that. So you can find my podcast on my website, goldenmiracles.com. You click on the podcast called Spirit Chat, because Spirit's the one that gave me everything to chat about. And then you can also get onto my Facebook page from my website. And I do a lot of testimonials on my Facebook, because that's a place that I feel people can read it and also know that they're not alone. This is a time that we're not alone. You know, Susanne, you reached out to me because your mom's alone, right? I got the lovely letter from her because Suzanne said, could you send her some books? Tina, you too. And I got this thank you letter, like, oh, she was reading the Courage and Doctors in Faith book. And it was so nice to hear that it was giving her something to do, keeping her mind busy, but it was helping her. And so she found a way to use her time. And that's what I think that we all need to do. And just be aware of your surroundings and change that heaviness, that energy, and lift it. Just all you have to do is say, I remove this. I don't need it. I don't want it. I release it. And then take a deep breath in and go, ah, I feel so much better.
Like you signed, I asked you and you signed a couple of books for her and you sent them to her. It was like Christmas for her. And she's like, I'm so bored and there's only so much I can do. And, all alone. And by reading something that is life affirming, that is keeping her going. And yeah, that is fantastic. Thank you so much for doing that. And trading curses for blessings. How can we get more of that? That's the name of your book, isn't it, Shai?
Yes, it is. And it's available on Amazon. And it's, it's as simple as what we said. It's taking what we perceive as a curse, oh, this happened to me because, and just turning it into something positive by taking action, maybe again, going out there, helping the homeless, or just reaching out to a neighbor, just across the hall and waving. You don't have to go there, or maybe making sure they get some food. So, and realizing that curses they're temporary, whatever we call a curse, it's temporary. And that blessings are something that we have everywhere, and we just have to look at them. Even if it's just looking outside, like I said today, the birds seemed a little more chirpy. I think they're just happy, they're thrilled that we're not out there bothering them, the world on the whole. But I think that we just need to take a breath, as everybody said, take a deep breath sometimes. Something that I have to do too. We're human beings as well. And even when we, people ask me that all the time. They think that because I'm a rabbi, and I'm sure that happens with mediums and all of us that are in this kind of public eye, they feel that we're these perfect beings, or sometimes really imperfect, but that we have this connection beyond, and we're always happy, and we're always great, and we're never depressed. And that's not the case either. I want people to know that for one, I get depressed sometimes too, and I get anxious, and I get very sad, and I get lonely, even if people are around. And the thing for us to remember is that that's okay as well. My message to people is it's okay. It's okay to feel depressed a little bit. It's okay to feel a little bit down. It's okay to be angry. And please express it, not in a crazy blown out way, but do things that help you express that. And then take that curse, because that's what it is, and turn it into a blessing by letting go. Maybe you let go by writing, by singing, whatever it is, your mechanism. And then release all that anger, and know that moment is okay. I think we all said that it's okay to feel those things, and it's okay to be in that moment, and give yourself maybe, a few hours. That's a lot. and then say, that's it. And then I'm going to be okay. Sometimes you can get into that mood, and then, allow yourself to do that. And people around you, and also be a little bit more. That's the thing that I think I'm working on, is to be forgiving when you're in a situation in quarantine with people that you love, but you haven't been with them that much and you're discovering new things, and you're annoyed. And the one thing to do is, okay, let's get annoyed. That is fun. It's good, not fun, but let's also, after that, make sure that we find the peace again. So we don't have to drag out fights, but we do have, we can banter, we can appreciate that the other person needs their space or needs to be a little angry, and
then, my gosh, I hadn't even thought of that, but that's
right, and then move on.
I can't hear my own thoughts,
Yeah, and it's okay to feel that way, and it's okay to say to the person, I'm really feeling crappy, And so some of the things that we've been doing, so many, I mean, as a rabbi, some of the rituals in the morning, the thankful prayer, laying tefillin, that's a Jewish ritual that we do. Some prayers.
How about pets? I know a lot of us.
Pets, and then Yofi, the golden doodle, who
yes. What a beautiful dog.
He is a crazy
For a
human
Yopi
being,
on
and
Instagram.
and talk about spirits. He is actually was I really believe was sent here to be our spirit guide, because he is very attuned. He's almost, it's weird when you look into his eyes, and I think a lot of animals are. This particular, and I've had a lot of animals, this particular one has a human look, but it's beyond human. It's sort of this understanding and knowing. And so just taking him for a walk and the intuitiveness really, really helps. And it helps other people. I post a lot of pictures of him. A lot of them are frivolous, but it's also just a moment to say, oh, look, not to show off, oh, look, my dog is the cutest, although he is, but, but really just to say, look, there's something cute to, so we do that. And we have a martini every other day or a glass of wine. And we watch a lot of movies and a lot of things that we maybe would never think to watch before, and connecting. And Zoom is an amazing, I just discovered it
great.
recently.
Yeah, Jimmy Fallon's doing the Tonight Show.
Yeah, and we just got a sponsorship to do a Passover Seder on Zoom, so that will be coming out. It will be all over. People will know how to.
Oh my gosh, what's the website?
My website.
Your website name, yeah.
Yeah, my website is rabbishai.com, SHAI. And from there, you can find a lot of stuff. Also, you can find on my social media, but you can find me on Facebook. You can find me on, Instagram. Through my website, I think you can connect to a lot of those places. I do a lot of things behind the scenes. I'm also working with kids a lot, to do, we have Hebrew school online. We have, we're trying to see in Vegas, can you do weddings online? I don't know, how does that work with licensing? We're trying to be creative. And but a lot of the things we do behind the scenes as well, we're trying to get, we're trying to figure out how to get masks and things to our first responders, and how to fill our food banks, and how to, because the hoarding happens for them too. And so, yeah, I mean, it's a lot of, listen, it's very stressful times, but it's also a time where, in World War II, people had to go to fight a war, and they had to go and build things. And we get to sit at home and watch movies and eat good food. And yes, it sucks, but it's also, think about it, this is our sacrifice. And so it's not as bad as we think it is, and it will get better, but be careful. You know what? Listen, I wash my hands, me and Howie Mandel, it's like.
And you know what? And common sense. Common
sense, yeah. But also remember, put it in perspective. You're sitting at home, you're eating food, hopefully, and if you can't, then reach out to places. There are places out there that will help you. And, just don't be afraid to reach out and ask for help. And it's there. And also just to send out some good vibes. I know we underestimate it. We think it's woo-woo. It's really not. I mean, if we talk about scientifically, it's proven that when people pray, and other people know that they're, other people pray for them, they can get better. And so when we say prayers and thoughts, yeah, we need to do actions as well. Of course, they come with that. But
and bless your food and bless your vitamins before you ingest.
Yeah, all that. But we also need to pray and send prayers and think about it. You don't realize how your energy, and I'm talking to the people who are now a little bit of the skeptics that are watching us.
Good.
Your energy is a scientific thing, is that we are all energy. And so think about it. If your energy and your words matter, then just put it out there. It doesn't hurt. It will make you feel better.
Yeah, watch some Craig McMahon movies.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
And
if that's the sacrifice we're making for most of us, a lot of us, and unfortunately are in a bad situation, and we don't minimize, but for most of us who are watching this, we're at home and we're, so let's try to enjoy that too. Don't feel so guilty. Listen, you had a little bit of it's not vacation by any means, but it's a little bit of a break.
And speaking of vacation, for myself, I want to encourage everyone who's watching this, do that thing that you're always putting off. I cannot tell you how many times when the spirit world comes through to give a message, they may say, well, I never did write that book of poetry that I was going to write, so I'm doing it over here. Do it now.
Yes.
Right.
So if there's something that you've been putting off, if it's the painting that you wanted to do, or this renovation project, or whatever it is, I mean, there's that little bit of extra time. Even if you used to commute, say, an hour and a half a day, you've got an hour and a half. You use it for something that you were sent here, or you sent yourself here to do. As for me, how do I stay grounded and centered? Well, I just told you, I'm just like you. A while ago, I was literally enraged that there was no Tylenol in the store, and realized I'm grieving. So I'm being very mindful of my own thoughts, words, actions, and now especially reactions to things, and I'm not pushing them away in any sense. I'm observing them. I'm also journaling. And I'm also posting cute and funny and silly things, but I'm not trying to, just like Rabbi Shai just said, and all of the panelists have said, we're not minimizing the suffering that's going on in the world. I mean, our hearts ache for these, for people who are ill, and some of us have people in our families who are ill right now. Yeah. However, we're still on the earth. Those of us who are still on the earth, we still have work to do. We still have gifts to leverage to bring a little bit of heaven to earth, and we are all connected. So if you want to think of this as a reset, if you want to think of this as a pause, great. But when the play button is hit again, this panel and I want to challenge you to do things differently, to think about kindness, to think about compassion, not just for others, but for yourself and for Mother, Father, Gaia, the earth. As for me, I'm at carefreemedium.com. And I will have on my website in the next day or so, I'll be teaching a class called the Spirit Guide Codes. You can find out more at spiritguidesmagazine.com. I'm teaching through Spirit Guides Magazine. I also have a monthly chat with Spirit Guides, where I do an hour of life issue readings for people that are in the group, and an hour of teaching that is timely and on topic. And my book is Soul Smart, What the Dead Teach Us About Spirit Communication. You can also see me in the Life to Afterlife series on Amazon that is written, produced, and directed by Craig McMahon. I love these people. Tina Powers, thank you so much. Tina, say goodbye to everybody. So I can see you. Hello. Bye. Debra Martin, thank you. Margaret Free, Rabbi Shai Specht-Sandler, thank you, and blessings. And Craig McMahon, thank you so much. Thank you for spending your time with us. This too shall pass, and let's be part of building an even more wonderful planet Earth. Bye-bye.